thing I just wanted to ask if anybody's got any questions on anything that we've talked about now, making changes, printing the schedule, or schedule sequencing. Anyone got any questions?
We've got a couple of things in chat.
Okay. So do you want to have a look at them?
Yep. So Grant says, unfortunately, talks in Ezra differ from the Silver Manual, so do not include. Grant, when we were talking about talks, we were talking about the leaders' speeches, not the talks.
Yeah.
And yes, the talks are different. The talks like the choices talk and so on are different in Ezra than they are in the Silver Manual, but that will be dealt with when there becomes an Aussie version of the KI Ezra. But the talks that we were talking about inserting into the printing were the leaders' speeches, not the talks that the team give. Does that make sense, Grant? Where are you?
Finance Society is going to react. Sorry. Yeah, no, that makes sense. We probably need to be clear in the material that what you refer to by talks. Otherwise, people will read it as being much more than you're implying it is.
Okay, leaders' speeches.
Yeah, but presumably not the leaders never give up talk.
No. The leader's speeches that the leader gets up and says, welcome to the weekend, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not about the talks, the leaders' talks, the leaders talk as in part of the short course stuff.
Yeah.
And what do you mean by the overview drops item on Monday?
Well, for example, with us, when I went to the overview, I went to print it to give to our kitchen leader and discover, even though we have a lunch provided by the outside team on the Monday, and it was in the schedule, when you print the overview, it didn't pick it up. So I think it's an underlying presumption that only certain things have to be picked up on the first day of the course.
Yeah, that's probably the case. Greg, I downloaded Ezra last week and was able to download the pass-on files. Okay, good. In looking through Ezra, I went into some training areas and then couldn't get out. Only way I could get out is just close Ezra down and then go back in. Is there a better way? I'm not exactly sure what you meant by into some training areas. Greg, are you able to unmute yourself? Were you talking about going to the Kairos Ezra website or?
No, it's actually in Ezra. And you know how you can go into, say, the area which, say, 2, I think it is, which says about the leader. You go in there and then you look on to, say, a tutorial and you go into there. And then there's no, in all the other ones that you've shown, there's a thing at the bottom which says close when you want to get out of it. But I just seem to be locked in. But it's not a big issue. I just have to close the whole thing down and come back in again. But
yeah, I guess because you went to a tutorial, you might have gone to the Kairos Ezra website, and that might have been the reason. That's the only thing I can think of. Anybody else?
Escape, did you try pressing escape at all?
Yes.
Because sometimes, yes. Yeah, okay.
Didn't work, yeah. I suppose it'd be better if I was more specific, so I might talk to you, Annie, about that sometime, because you're my
support. Excellent.
Can I ask one other question while I'm off mute, Jack? In doing what I was doing, I was wanting to print out some training agendas for the 6 training sessions we want to hold. And the Ezra comes up with a schedule or agenda with times on them, but the starting times don't agree with what we're going to do. Does that mean that I've got to go through and change every item on the agenda for the times?
I think what with that one, we touched on this last time. I think if you change, I think there's a way you can change, like like say for example, I think it was the church was being used up until 10 o'clock, and so you started from 10 o'clock. If you went into the schedule part and change it from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. My understanding was it reorganized the rest of the times.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But when I did go and change the starting time, and then I just thought I thought, oh, this is good. It's all changed. But then I realised what had happened to change the time for the first talk, which was now about 3 or 4 items down, because it didn't consecutively change all the items after that. So perhaps I did it wrong.
Perhaps if you wait on afterwards, once we finish, we might just be able to have a quick look at that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Grant, creating pass-on file help. So when you say creating, Grant, what do you mean by that? Oh,
You're muted, Grant.
Unmute.
Rid of it. I keep hitting it, but I think it's half odds. Yeah, basically our previous leader, I don't know if it's coincidence or not, he got the create a pass-off file process started, and it killed, somehow his computer decided that was the time to die. I don't know whether that was a coincidence or not. But when I tried to do it, I went through the whole process, got through the final one, and it says, okay, the final step, it says create pass-off file, hit next button. But the only button that sits there is a back button.
Oh, okay. Might be. When was that, Grant?
Oh, that was about 3 days ago.
Right. Oh, we'd have to have a look at that. That's a bit unusual. Normally, with the pass-on files, when you should get where you want to save it to. So it's usually a USB or something like that. And then when you click on go, it then writes that file to the USB.
Yeah.
So
I might just double check the USB just to make sure it hasn't done anything, but it didn't look like it had.
Right,
so okay. When I click on that button, it just takes you back another screen.
Okay.
So sorry, can I interrupt? There may have been something that had not been put in properly or something like that. You're Parkley or John Moroney, aren't you, Grant?
Parkley, yeah.
Contact me if you like, and I'll Zoom it with you if you want.
Yep, yeah, could do, yeah. I know Jerry had the same problem, had to go back to the US to get it sorted out.
Yep, well, that may be the case, but we can
talk with Jan first. Yeah, talk with Jan.
Do.
Yeah, we don't talk with America. If you have issues, you need to come to
I wasn't
ESG.
planning to.
No, I'm just saying. Yeah. So we can see what happens. Thank you.
Usually with the pass-on files, if something isn't right, it normally gives you messages saying this isn't done or this has happened or like the USB's full or something like that.
No.
I don't think it takes a long time because it's a database, unless it's a huge database. So I'd check your USB first, just make sure it hasn't actually got something on there. It might have been quite quick.
Not, because there was no next button. It's where the next button was. It just said back.
Right. Okay.
I clicked on it and then it took me back a screen.
All right. We'll get in touch with Jan and we'll see if we can get that sorted.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks.
Can Ezra print out a list of training dates? I believe it can. What do we find that under that button?
Just go out of that and go to number 6.
Number 6.
And you've got do a mailing to team members. Click on that. And that's where you've got team confirmation, meeting reminder, etc. Just you scroll where you were.
Yep.
There's the team meetings in that selected letter.
Okay. This is it here.
Where they are.
But you can adjust these letters to put in there whatever you want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And will that pick up the dates that I've already put in the system elsewhere?
Yes.
Should do. Yeah.
Right.
And up the top here, there's a button called instructions. So you'd always go back and.
Where was that?
So it's in number 6, team meeting preparations.
Where did you go into? What part? Where was
just undo and start again.
Okay, so team meeting preparations.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, where were we?
keep up
Third one,
that one.
do
No,
a
down
no,
one.
one underneath that one.
That one, mailing. Yes. Okay. So when you go to the mailing part, and then
Terrific.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
And you can adjust those letters to whatever you want to put in there.
Yeah.
oh, that's
And
would that be that river? It might be there. There we go. There's
There
a
you
drop down
go.
for you, and then you
Yeah.
can
right.
change things in there. Okay.
Just worth mentioning, it says Ezra doesn't support anything less than 5 team meetings.
Yeah, we know that's an issue,
Yeah.
but it's something we have to work around because it's just the way
Yeah,
Ezra
yeah.
is.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
You probably just need to share the workaround somehow.
yeah,
Yeah, you can make, you can do it 8 meetings and then just have, morning and afternoon and 2 meetings, or
Yep,
you know,
yep.
various ways to work around it. But yes, it's something that a number of us have battled with.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else anybody would like to ask then?
There is one other thing I observed, which is
Yes.
slightly annoying and initially concerned me. When I was putting in all the assignments to tables, one of the tricks I did just to get them balanced was I put down the Aboriginals on the who are on the participants down as Native Americans and used the different ones so I got a balance on the tables. But when I went in to re-enter them, I went into the table part again, with assigning some final. It kind of came up with a view of the family, but only half the names on it. But when I went to print it, they were still there in the database. It just wasn't showing up on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the way that I got around that was when I was leading was just to bring it up in a PDF,
Yeah.
and it shows you. So
Oh,
you
yeah,
can
you
have a
can
look at
put-
it that way. Yeah.
You just have, it just scares you the first time after you spend half an hour doing it. So you think, oh, I lost it.
That's right. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
dear.
There's some of those things that are just Ezra
Yeah.
things. So it's
Yeah.
finding a way around it. When I was
Yeah.
doing stuff, I always just printed myself a PDF. Well, I didn't print it, but I'd bring it
Yeah.
up on screen. You can view it and then just close it and so you can see. Because the other thing too you can do is to change jobs. If you've got a job on your team that's not listed,
Mm.
or you use it, call it a different name, you can put a local name in it, but it never comes up on Ezra. It's only when you print that
Yeah.
those things come on the print. So
Yeah, I did use that facility.
no, but yeah, so there's some things we just have to work
Yeah.
around. But overall, it's got a lot of information and stuff in it that we can use to make, particularly for your team meetings, make them interesting and varied. The riverbanks are wider there. And so,
Yeah.
you don't have to repeat what the leader did last year and the one before and the one before and the one before. But it's when we get to the short course or the weekend, that's when the riverbanks are narrow and we have to stick with what is. So, yeah.
All right
So
then.
is there
Yeah.
thank you, Lex. Is there anybody else, any comments? We trust it's been helpful and that it's given you a little bit of scope to become a bit more familiar with it and so that you're not so anxious and are happy to just go and explore. If you have any, qualms about that, just do a backup to make sure that you've got your stuff. And so if something does go wrong, it really shouldn't though if you're just in and out of a window and having a look. But just keep doing your backups. And you've always got your information then that you can reload if you did have an issue or a problem. So we trust. Sorry.
Pauline's just asked a question. I'll just read it out. Sorry, how do we enter the Indigenous people on Ezra as Indigenous? We don't have the ability to say Indigenous, but Grant was talking about calling First Nations people
Native American.
Native American. So unfortunately, it's American terminology, not Aussie terminology there.
So long as you know your mapping, it works. Like we had various people from Fiji and other backgrounds. I put them down as black African American. So as long as you know what you got about 5 mapping you can use.
Does that make sense, Colleen? And you'll need to unmute yourself to answer.
Yeah, sort of. I wondered about that when I was doing it. But that the other mappings I don't really know. So I thought about that when I was doing out, because we've got quite a few Indigenous ladies this time.
Cool.
So
there is an other option in that where it's got all the can't say it this late at night, all ethnicity. Right at the very end, there's an other button you can.
I must have missed that one. I'm vision impaired, and sometimes it's the very thing I'm looking right at that I don't see. I'll have another look.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
The other button is for the church, not the race.
I think it's both. I think in different spots it's both.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So thank you very much. Tonight is our last Kairos Inside. We've had 4 and we trust that they've been helpful. So tonight's the last one for Kairos Inside. Next fortnight, we've got an extra session for Kairos Outside because they have a few different components that Kairos Inside doesn't have. So for all those that have been coming, we thank you so much, particularly KI people, and we really appreciate that you've taken the time to come. The things have been recorded tonight, and Bruce at the Kairos Support Office will attend to all that and get it looking right, and then he'll put it up on the website so that they'll be there for the next until we run another one, or if something changes and we need to change them. So we appreciate that, and we will see the KO people, if you like, be back in 2 weeks' time, 6th of May, I think it is. Okay, so Lex, would you just like to close with prayer?